Am I audible and visible? Let me know. I think I am audible, visible now.
Law of attraction can create amazing results for people, and everybody knows that.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Am I audible now? Let me know.
Law of attraction can create amazing
Fine. Am I audible? Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to my class. I'm myself Dr. Deepti Karya. I'm MD PhD Physiology and I'm your faculty for Physiology. Okay. Now, so first of all, I would like to uh, share with you that all my lecture notes, they're available in soft as well as hard copies. And this soft as well as hard copies, soft copy. Hello Kishan. Welcome to my class. So all these notes are available in soft and hard copies. Soft copy, for that you can download the app Vesalius, okay, and you can get the soft copy. And for hard copy, you can order the book Physiology notes, that is available on Flipkart, as well as good evening beta, good evening Kishan, that is available on Flipkart as well as Amazon. Fine. Now one more thing I would like to discuss you for newcomers, that in this channel daily I'm live from Monday to Saturday, and we will learn physiology. If you are regularly watching my video, I'll complete the whole physiology syllabus in your time period, that is 1 year. So please watch me live daily, and if you have anyone in your contact, the person or the student of first year MBBS, nursing, physiotherapy, homeopathy, Ayurvedic, you can share these videos with them. That will be very much helpful for all of you. Okay. And one more thing, at the end of my class, I'll ask or we will discuss 10 MCQs. So if you have attended my class nicely, I think definitely you will be able to answer the MCQs, as well as your fundamentals become very clear for that particular topic. Okay, so let us start our today's topic. Today we'll continue our cell physiology 6. Okay, transport across the cell membrane. Yesterday, if you have not watched my class of yesterday, you can watch it. We have started transport across the cell membrane. Just I will briefly explain you. Transport across the cell membrane is of mainly three types: passive transport, that we have discussed yesterday, okay, active transport, that we will discuss today, and in my next video I will discuss third, that is vesicular transport, special type of transport. Okay, fine. So here today we will start with active transport. Okay, yesterday, if you have not watched my video of yesterday, you can watch it. That is passive transport, we have discussed nicely, as well as we have discussed MCQ also. Okay, so in passive transport we discuss what we discussed, that is passive transport means transport of the substances along the gradient. You can see here, this is diffusion and facilitated diffusion, simple and facilitated. Okay, fine. This is passive transport. Passive transport simply means that substances, they pass from their higher concentration. Hello Avni, welcome to my class. Okay, so they pass from higher to lower concentration. Fine. This is active transport, higher to lower. Simply, sorry, this is passive transport, simply said. Okay. So now here we will discuss about active transport today. So what is this active transport? So yesterday we discussed this one, diffusion and facilitated and simple diffusion. Okay, fine. Now active transport, that is transport of substances against the gradient. Against the gradient means, suppose you can see here only two molecules are there, here 10 15 molecules, but still these molecules, they pass in this direction. Okay, normally they will move in this direction along the gradient. Along the gradient means from higher to lower, but here they are moving in opposite direction, means against the gradient. Very important here, when they are against the gradient, energy is required. So in active transport we require energy, and this energy either comes from ATP or from the transport of other substance. Fine. Now, so which are the sources of energy? Very important source, that is ATP. Okay, and other compounds are also source of energy. So this is active transport. Now we discuss certain substances. They are transported by active transport. Remember sodium, you can see in this diagram also. Sodium ions, important thing, sodium channels, that is passive transport. Sodium potassium pump, that is active transport. So sodium ions, potassium ions, calcium ions, H plus pump, okay, chloride, iodide, they all are transported by active transport. Now types of active transport, two types. Number one is primary and second, that is secondary active transport. We will discuss one by one. First, that is primary active transport. Again you can see here, this one is your primary active transport. Okay, here what is primary means energy comes directly from ATP, direct use of ATP, and secondary means energy comes from indirect use of ATP. We will discuss one by one. Starting with primary active transport, you can see here one of the important example of primary active transport is sodium potassium pump. Okay, here this sodium potassium pump has got two subunits, alpha and beta. Okay, here first of all, this for primary active transport energy is required as we have discussed. Okay, and this energy comes from ATP. Okay. Another important thing, normally sodium are extracellular cation. Okay, and potassium is intracellular cation, means sodium concentration is more here, potassium is more here. But in sodium potassium pump, what happens, although sodium ions are more, but still they are transported from inside to outside. Okay, so this is against the gradient. Okay, and potassium ion concentration is more here, so by passive transport they should move here, but here against the gradient they are moving in. So what happens here in the sodium potassium pump, you can see 3 sodium ions are pumped outside and 2 potassium ions are pumped inside. Fine, and here ATP is required. So this way you can draw the sodium potassium pump. Hello Carrie, welcome to my class. Now, so now the structure of sodium potassium pump, you can see here it has got two subunit. This is alpha and this is beta subunit. Okay, so this is nothing but carrier molecule. Carrier molecules, they are made up of protein part of your cell membrane. This is cell membrane, phospholipid, these are proteins. Okay, so now here you can see alpha subunit. Alpha subunit has molecular weight of about 1 lakh. Okay, and beta subunit, the molecular weight is about 55,000. Okay, now this alpha subunit, it has, you can see here, 3 sodium binding sites intracellularly. Here 3 sodium ions bind here and 2 potassium binding sites extracellularly. Fine, one site for binding of ATPase. What is ATPase? ATPase degrades ATP. Okay, and ATP is converted into ADP, and here now energy is produced, and this is used for the transport. Am I clear? Okay, fine. So you can see main subunit is alpha. Alpha has got 3 sodium binding sites, 2 potassium binding sites, and 1 binding site for ATPase. So you can say 6 binding sites are there on the alpha subunits. Okay, unit. Now, what is the mechanism of action? You can see here, when these 3 sodium ions bind inside, 2 potassium ion binds inside, outside, and 1 ATPase bind here. You can see this is ATPase bind. Then now this pump changes its structure. So what does it do? Now it turns opposite side. So what happens now? This sodium ions, they move out, potassium ions, they enter in, and ATPase degrades ATP. Okay, so conformational change, it is known as conformational change, takes place because of release of energy. Energy is released by ATP. Okay, ATP is converted into ADP and that releases energy for the transport of ions. Okay, fine. Now, what are the functions of the pump? The pump has got mainly two actions. Number one, that is, it is electrogenic pump. What is electrogenicity? Means, you can see normally all of you are knowing that this is suppose the cell. Okay, cell has negative ions inside and positive ions outside. Okay, so what happens now? This positive ions, they try to move inside. Okay, but this will not happen. Okay, why? Because of the action of this pump. What is the action of the pump? This pump pumps 3 sodium ions out and 2 potassium ions in. Fine. So what happens? Every time when the pump gets active, what does it do? It pumps 3 positive outside and 2 positive inside. Means every time one positive ion moves out. So you can say that there is electrogenic gradient is created. Electrical potential gradient is created, means always your cell membrane is negative inside, positive outside. This will be remain. Okay. This is known as resting membrane potential. All of you are knowing resting membrane potential is always negative. Negative, suppose if it is now, it is minus 70 millivolt. For muscle, skeletal muscle, it is minus 90 millivolt. Means inside that is negative. Fine. Now, uh, so that is first function, electrogenic activity. Second function of the pump is it maintains the volume of the cell. Now, how the volume of the cell is maintained? You all know that cell is negative inside. Okay, so negative ions, they remain inside. Some of the negative particles, they are our plasma proteins. Okay, so this plasma protein and some other organic substances, organic compounds, they cannot come out of the cell, so they remain inside. Okay, and this negatively charged particles, along with that some positively charged particles, they are collected. Okay, and they cause increase in the number of molecule inside the cell. So what happens? The cell got swollen. But when the pump gets active, it causes net loss of one ion. Net loss of one ion means, as we have discussed, when the pump is active, 3 sodium ions are moved out and 2 potassium in. So you can say always, every time one positive ion, any of the one positive ion moves out. So every time one ion is moved out. Okay, so you can say that there is net loss of one positive ion, and because of that the volume of the cell is maintained. Am I clear? So these are two important functions. One function, that is, it maintains electrogenic activity of the pump. Hello Atif, welcome to my class. I am fine, beta. So one, that is, it maintains electrogenic activity of the pump, and second function, that it maintains cell volume. So these are two functions. Okay. Now clinical aspect, as I told you, always whenever you are writing your answer, always write down 1 or 2 lines from clinical aspect. Okay. So this pump is inhibited in which conditions? Number one, when temperature decreases. Okay. Oxygen decreases, and some poisons like metabolic poison 2,4-dinitrophenol. How it inhibits? It prevents formation of ATP. ATP formation is decreased, and ATP is required for the activity of the pump. Okay, so these are the inhibitors of the pump: temperature decrease, lack of oxygen, and metabolic poison. Okay, and stimulants of the pump, they are thyroid hormones, they stimulate, and this is the reason metabolism increases. And in hyperthyroidism, because metabolism, mainly metabolism, that is the use of ATP. So in hyperthyroidism, you all have seen that metabolism increases, that results in weight loss. So metabolic activity increases in hyperthyroidism. So this thyroid hormone stimulates pump. Insulin stimulates pump, aldosterone and G active molecules, they also stimulate the pump. Am I clear? Now, one more clinical significance here. Try to remember, or you can write down. This is, I have written for you only. There is a drug, Digitalis. This drug is used in the treatment of heart failure. How? What is the action of Digitalis? You can see here. Digitalis blocks this pump, sodium potassium pump. So what happens when sodium potassium pump is blocked? What happens? Sodium ion concentration increases inside. Okay, and along with increase in the sodium ion concentration, calcium efflux is also reduced. So calcium concentration is increased. How I will explain? Suppose first we discuss. Suppose your pump is active, normal heart we are talking about. So what does it do when the pump is active? Thank you, beta. Thanks for your words, Atif Ali. I will just explain you. Huh. So first here you can see this is your sodium potassium. Sorry, sir. Let me explain again. I'll draw it properly so you will be able to understand. You can see here. So this is the action of digitalis. First, I will discuss normal thing. What happens here? When this pump is active, 3 sodium ions are out, 2 potassium ions are in. Fine. So sodium concentration is more outside. Okay. Now what happens? There is sodium calcium exchanger. This is secondary active transport. So what happens here? Sodium calcium exchanger, what does it do? Like this. Calcium moves out and sodium enters. Okay. So this is secondary active transport. Okay, so this results in exit of the calcium. So calcium moves out from the cardiac cells, and when calcium moves out from the cardiac cell, cardiac contraction decreases. Okay, cardiac contraction decreases. But when this is inhibited, you can see this pump. This movement is also inhibited. So you can say that calcium ions will not move out. So calcium concentration increases and cardiac contraction also increases. Am I clear or should I repeat? Let me know those who are watching me live. This is important fundamentals. Clear? So this pump provides energy for sodium calcium exchange, and this pump is inhibited, so the sodium calcium exchange is also inhibited. Okay, fine. So I'm moving ahead thinking that you all understood. Fine. Okay. Now. Okay, fine. Next. That is, so this is about sodium potassium pump. Next, that is calcium pump. Okay. Calcium pump causes transport of calcium ion. Remember, this is different than sodium calcium co-transport. This is secondary active transport. And calcium pump, very important thing here, when the word pump comes, pump is equal to primary. And very important, primary means energy comes directly from ATP. This is primary. Okay. Secondary means energy comes from other transport, secondarily from ATP. Okay, we will discuss. So here, what is the role of calcium pump? Calcium, you can see here, calcium ions, they are low intracellularly, but in spite of that, calcium ions, they move out. Okay, and so low intracellular calcium concentration is maintained, and this is present in cells, mainly also present in the organelle sarcoplasmic reticulum of skeletal muscle. Okay, this is present in the skeletal muscle. Fine. Next is hydrogen pump. You can see here, this is hydrogen pump, this one, H plus ATPase. It transports hydrogen ions, and mainly it is present in our kidney tubular cells. You can see here, kidney tubular cells, and it causes transport of H plus ion from tubular cells into the lumen, and H plus ions are excreted in urine. Okay, this way. So this is very important mechanism. Next pump, that is potassium hydrogen pump. Here potassium and hydrogen both are transported. Potassium, hydrogen moves one side, potassium moves on the opposite side. You can see here H plus, K plus, H plus exit, K plus enters, and here also ATP is used, and this is present in parietal cells of gastric mucosa in the stomach. Okay, gastric gland, parietal cells, and also in the kidney tubules they are present. Fine. So this is all about primary active transport. Very important thing about primary means energy comes directly from ATP, degradation of ATP. Now, next is secondary active transport. Here you can see energy will not come directly from the ATP, but transport of other substance. As we have discussed, you can see here. Here there is sodium potassium pump. Okay, 3 sodium ions are out. 2 potassium ions are in. Now this gradient is created because of low sodium here. So that causes sodium glucose co-transport. So this is secondary active transport. Source of energy is ATP, but it is secondarily used. So now I will define secondary active transport. Here energy is derived secondarily from the energy which has been stored in the form of ionic concentration difference between two sides of membrane. I will explain. Caused by primary active transport. I will explain primary active transport. Okay, you can see here, suppose this is your cell. Okay, this side you have sodium potassium pump. 3 sodium ions move out, 2 potassium ions move in. Fine. Now you can see sodium concentration decreases here inside the cell. Now the energy which is produced because of decreased sodium concentration, what does it do? From other side now sodium enters. Okay, and this same energy is used for the entry of glucose also. So this is sodium glucose co-transport is your secondary. Here ATP which was used here, this is the ATP that is responsible for transport of this two, sodium and glucose. Am I clear? So this is your secondary active transport. Although energy is coming from the ATP only primarily, but here when this transport takes place, energy is not directly used from ATP. Am I clear? Gradient produced that is utilized as a energy. Okay, means sodium concentration decreases here, and this decreased sodium concentration is responsible for this transport. Fine. Now it has two types, co-transport and counter-transport. Co-transport means you can see here two substances are transported in same direction, sodium and glucose in the same direction. The carrier molecule that is known as symport in the same direction. Okay, sodium glucose examples are sodium glucose co-transport, one sodium amino acid co-transport. Okay, sodium iodide co-transport, one positive one negative. Fine. Okay, understood. Now, next is counter transport. Here, the word itself knows that itself shows that counter, opposite direction. Means you can see here the carrier protein is antipod. Anti means opposite direction. You can see here one sodium ion enters inside, one H plus moves out. One sodium enters, calcium moves out. So examples are sodium, potassium. So here very important thing, one positive, one positive. There co-transport, one positive, iodide is negative, this way. Okay, sodium, potassium, counter transport, sodium, hydrogen, counter transport. Very important thing here, this is sodium, potassium counter transport. This is different than sodium, potassium pump. Mind here, sodium potassium pump directly ATP is used and 3 sodium and 2 potassium ions are moving. Here 1 is to 1. 1 sodium raised to 1 potassium. Fine. Don't get confused between this. This is sodium. Symport, yes beta. Symport, antiport and uniport. It is same. Okay, carrier proteins are same. Here also carrier protein is this, but the energy required, so it is known as active transport. Fine. Okay, but don't get confused this sodium potassium counter transport with sodium potassium pump. Fine. When the word pump comes, that is primary active transport. Fine. Other is sodium calcium counter transport, calcium potassium counter transport, calcium magnesium counter transport, chloride shift, that is chloride bicarbonate counter transport. Fine. So these are all the examples, one positive, one negative, one negative. Fine. So this is all about your secondary active transport. Tomorrow we will today we have completed this active transport. Tomorrow we will discuss special categories of transport, that is bulk flow, vascular transport, filtration and osmosis. Fine. Now ready for the question answer. If you are knowing the answer, you can send the reply in the chat box. If you are wrong, there is nothing to worry. Okay, try to answer. At least you are 6-7 people are there, so please give me answer. Fine. So now active transport process, that is just you read the question. I will give 15 seconds. Fine. Used to move substances through the cell membrane along the gradient. Used to move substances through the cell membrane along the chemical gradient. Often referred as pump. Always obtain energy from the transport of other substance. Which one is true? I will give you time, 15 seconds. Fine. Some of the students started leaving. If you are not knowing, just stay with me. You will come to know the answer. Okay. If you are not answering, not to worry, just listen the question. Fine. So you can see here the correct answer is they are referred as pump. We have discussed primary active transport. This is not correct. But along the gradient, some has given answer, but along the gradient, that is passive transport. This is not active transport. Fine. Along the chemical gradient, this is also passive transport. Okay, this is active transport. This is correct answer, and it will not always obtain energy. Fine. Next, active transport across the cell membrane is mediated by G protein, sodium potassium ATPase, carrier protein, channel protein. And the correct option is carrier protein. This uniport, symport, and antiport. Fine. Okay. Next question. Sodium potassium pump. Okay. Sodium potassium pump in cell membrane is essential for maintaining high intracellular concentration of sodium potassium pump. 3 sodium ions out. This is easy question. Now tell me the answer. Which concentration increases inside? Answer me. If you are wrong, fine. No. Very good. Correct answer, Avni. Potassium. Very good. Good answer. Correct answer. Next. Very good. Kishan. Potassium. Good. Next. Sodium potassium pump is responsible for. Okay. You can see एक diagram, just remember. You need not have to remember anything else. This one. Okay. Movement of sodium out, potassium in. Movement of potassium out, sodium in. Forcing 3 sodium ions from the cell and take 2 potassium ion in the cell. All of the above. I'm waiting for your answer. Tell me. I just gave you the hint also. Very good. Kishan, correct answer. Avni, correct answer. Good. Now, this is also easy. For sodium potassium pump, coupling ratio is 1:1, 2:2, 2:3, 3:1, 2. Again this is coming. Now write down here. What is here and what is here? Which ratio? Tell me. I gave you the answer. Very good. Avni, correct answer. D is the correct answer. Good. Now, sixth, all of the following are true for sodium potassium pump except, okay, requires binding by only sodium and potassium, uses membrane bound ATPase as a carrier molecule, is responsible for maintaining high intracellular potassium ions and low sodium ion, accounts for a large part of basal metabolism. Which is except means which is false. What is false? That is the question. Give you time. Can anyone? But a C is correct answer. Correct. We have to find out wrong answer. False. C is wrong maybe. No, but that is responsible for high intracellular. You can see here. 3 sodium out. 2 potassium in. Fine. So, potassium high, sodium low. So, this is correct. Is it? This is wrong. Only sodium and potassium. No, beta. ATPase is required. This one is answer. It will not require only sodium and potassium. It also requires ATPase. Fine. It requires ATPase also. Fine. This is the answer. Am I clear? Correct answer is or A. A. Fine. Now. Okay. Next. Which of the following is true regarding transport of calcium ion? Calcium calmodulin binding, passive transport, hydrolysis of ATP, and symport. This is easy. Whatever we discuss, just remember we have discussed this or this or this. No, beta, this we have not. Have I told you calcium calmodulin here? No. This is not passive. This requires ATP. Calcium pump. That is, it requires ATP, hydrolysis. So, correct answer is this one. Fine. No issue if you are wrong here. Not to worry. Okay, fine. Next. Which of the following is not correct for sodium potassium pump? Here, resting membrane potential becomes less negative. So just a minute. Read the question first. Not correct if sodium potassium pump is poisoned. Poison means not working. So what happens when sodium potassium pump is not working? Your membrane potential becomes less negative. This is correct. Okay, because sodium potassium pump, it moves 3 sodium ions out. But now sodium ions are in, positive ions are in. So membrane potential is less negative. Instead of minus 90, now it becomes minus 70, less negative, because positive ions are inside. Okay. Second, because of this not reaching to resting membrane potential, nerve impulse cannot be transmitted. So this is also correct. Potassium concentration intracellular decreases. This is also correct, because you can see here, when the pump is active, 3 sodium out, 2 potassium in. But when it is not active, so what happens? Potassium cannot enter in, so potassium concentration decreases. This is correct. Sodium concentration increases here. So this is your not correct answer. Fine. Ninth one. Which of the following is true about transport across cell membrane? Okay. Chloride with glucose, sodium with glucose, antipot, sodium with glucose, sympot, potassium with glucose, sympot. We have discussed one positive sodium and one negative. That is D in the previous answer. You are right. Here sodium glucose sympot. This one glucose. This is the correct answer. Sodium and glucose. Fine. Last, counter transport include all except. Okay. This is sodium calcium transport. One sodium out, one calcium in. This is counter transport. Fine. Sodium hydrogen. One sodium out, hydrogen in. Sodium potassium. Sodium out, potassium in. Sodium glucose. One sodium in, one glucose in. This is co-transport, not the counter. So this one is the option. This is co-transport. These all are counter transport. So correct option is D. Sodium glucose co-transport. Fine. So try to remember these values, which are the co-transport and counter transport. Okay, co-transport में important are sodium glucose and sodium amino acid. This. Okay, fine. Now, so again, here we are ending a class. Before ending class, I would like to repeat that all my physiology notes are available in soft and hard copy. For soft copy, you can download the app Vesalius from Play Store, and you can subscribe it for getting all my notes. And second thing, hard copy of the note is also available on Flipkart as well as Amazon, so you can also get it. Okay, thank you beta, thank you Kishan, thank you Avni, thank you all of you for joining with me. If you like my video, you can like it, you can share with all your friends to whom you wish that you can helpful. You can just click the bell icon also, so always whenever I'm live आपकी घंटी बज जाए. ठीक है, so you also come to know whenever madam is live. So this is you have to do. Fine. Thank you so much. Thanks for being with me. Stay connected. Okay.